Welcome to the May Amsa Board of Trustees meeting. Officially calling the meeting to order. The meeting is being recorded and available live streaming on the Amsa Facebook page. So at this point, Sarah, could you please announce the board members in attendance?
Nope, she's disappeared.
Oh, well, hang on. Well, hang on.
There she is.
Sarah, could you announce the board members in attendance, please?
Did we lose her again?
I do see that Kristen has joined us.
Sarah is coming back in right now.
Yeah, well.
Oh. Anyone there?
Yeah, we're waiting for our trustee administrator there. Sarah, are you able to reconnect?
So, yeah. Would it help if I read out who's in attendance? Do we need to wait for Sarah?
We'll need Sarah for all the votes, but let's give it a couple minutes. If not, we can. Well, at the minimum, I need to appoint a timekeeper to keep us on schedule. So who would like to volunteer for a timekeeper this month?
I can do it.
Zach, official timekeeper, thank you. You're on mute, Sarah.
Okay, it wasn't letting me unmute. Okay.
Okay.
So we're still missing Bella, correct? Nope, I see you. I see you. Okay. All right, I apologize for that. Okay, I will read the people. Bella Gorman, Don Capello, Jill Schaefer, Kristen Carney, Liz Saul, Maura Webster, Nick Poirier, Raoul Porras, Roger Jarrett, Sheila Kelly, Salmini Sampath, and Zachary Prescott.
Very good, thank you, Sarah. And we've officially appointed Zach as our timekeeper for the meeting. Liz, is there anyone contacted you for public comment? And you're on mute.
Let me check one more time. I had checked earlier and there was no one, and there is still no one.
Anybody wishing to address the board in public comment section? Hearing none, we will move on to the vote section of the meeting. We have four votes. I don't know. We'll get to see whether we have 4 votes scheduled. First is make a motion to approve the minutes from 28th of April.
I move to approve the minutes for April 20th.
Second, this is Dawn.
Second, so Bella / Dawn. Sarah, please call the roll.
You're on mute.
You're muted, Sarah.
She's not on.
But she's on, but she can't.
Okay, oh, here she now. It keeps going on mute. Okay. All right. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Bella Gorman.
Yes.
Don Capello.
Yes.
Jill Schaefer.
Yes.
Kristen Carney.
Yes.
Liz Saul.
Yes.
Maura Webster.
Yes.
Nick Poirier.
I abstain.
Okay, Raul Porras,
Abstain.
Roger Jarrett,
Yes.
Sheila Kelly,
Yes.
Salmini Sampath,
Yes.
Zachary Prescott.
Yes.
That's everyone.
Motion passes with 2 abstentions. Next, I'll take an motion to approve the minutes from the May 17th board meeting.
So moved?
So moved by Dawn,
And seconded by Liz.
second by Liz. Sarah, please call the roll.
Okay, Bella Gorman,
Yes.
Don Capello,
Yes.
Jill Schaefer,
Yes.
Kristen Carney,
Yes.
Liz Saul,
Yes.
Mara Webster,
Yes.
Nick Poirier,
I will abstain again. I apologize.
Raul Porras,
Yes.
Roger Jarrett,
Yes.
Sheila Kelly,
Yes.
Salmini Sampath,
Abstain.
Zachary Prescott.
Abstain.
Motion passes with 3 abstentions. Next up is the school budget. I'd like to pass the baton to Liana to present, and Kristen is co-presenter. So Liana?
Okay. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see that? Okay, so this is the 2023 Amsa operating budget. The Finance Committee met on Monday and voted to present this to the full board. So I will review it with you. Oh, why isn't it turning my page? There we go. So a couple quick assumptions that were used during the preparation of this budget. This is a operation budget only. It does not include any expenses relating to the construction project at this time. Tuition was projected based on next year's student enrollment at this year's current tuition rates. And salaries were projected based on a 3% increase for the collective bargaining employees and the administrative staff, along with a 5% increase for the department chairs. Okay, so here is the projected profit loss compared to, for 2023 compared to the forecast that we currently have for FY22. So you'll see that tuition, we're projecting at $15,714,000. As opposed to 14,892. Student programs relatively stable. Grants and donations, it's a little lower in next year because of all of the COVID money that we received previous year. And rental is pretty much on target. So total revenue we're budgeting of $17,372,000 versus the forecast for this year $16,727,000. For the expenses, the salary and benefits, that includes the 3% raise for the collective bargaining and the 5% for the department chairs. So salaries are $11,905 versus $11,299. Facilities, we're projecting $1,477,000 versus last year $1,865,000. Student programs, $1,744,000 versus $1,553,000, and other operating, $1,735,000 versus $1,434,000. And we'll get into more detail of what those numbers, what is included in those numbers on the next slide or two. So total expenses, $16,862,000 versus this year $16,152,000. End up with a surplus very close to this forecasted year, 509 versus 575. Okay, so this gives you a little bit more detail of what is included in these revenue numbers. So tuition, as I mentioned before, is based on next year's student enrollment at this year's FY22 current tuition rates. We talked about grants, student programs, food service, athletics. Those are all based on this year, next year being a full in-person school year, just like this year. Rental income, you'll see a slight decrease, and that is due to the GASB changed the accounting standards for how we record leases. So that's a little adjustment there. Student transportation, basically flat, and other basically flat, for a total of $17,372,000. Okay, so we'll go on to the next one. So expenses, so we talked about salaries. That also includes benefits, which included a 5% increase for medical insurance. That's the biggest change there for the benefit side. Instructional supplies includes classroom supplies, textbooks, things like that. Professional development, we continue to carry $1,500 per employee for professional development for the year. Student program expenses includes clubs, field trips, testing, those types of things. Food services and athletics, self-explanatory. Student transportation, this includes regional busing, athletics, and field trips. Facilities includes lease payments, utilities, mortgage interest, and IT. And then other operating costs includes depreciation, insurance expense, office supplies, dues, legal, accounting, etc. So again, our total expenses are budgeted for next year, $16,863,000.
Hey, Liana, I'm just curious on the facilities, what's creating the decrease there from last year? Or I guess from this year for next year.
Well, part of that, well, that's a huge, part of that is the lease cam and
Because
taxes.
We don't have to pay any lease for next year because we own the buildings now?
Yeah, because remember it up until October of last, October 21, we were still paying those expenses.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And I guess since we're on that topic, that any capital expenses are not going to show up here, correct?
Correct. They'll show up in the depreciation expense line item.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay, so this is the projected balance sheet that we are estimating at the end of FY 2023. We're estimating we'll have $8,839,000 in cash, some small receivables and other current assets. Our fixed assets, which includes the buildings, $18,951,000. That's net of depreciation, and some other assets of $932,000. For liabilities, we're going to have current liabilities of $3,185,000. Long-term liabilities, that's the loan on the property of $11,945,000. And then equity is just the balance of the assets minus your liabilities. And for the capital assets, here is what we're projecting for next year. We got some Chromebook carts. This Chromebook cart will get us one Chromebook in each and every classroom. Then we have some facilities repairs. Just in the last week or so, we had our chiller went in 201, and also a HVAC unit went on 165. So this will replace those two items. Computer lab refresh, staff laptops, we do that every year. We are looking to replace our phone system, which was used when we got it 16 years ago. Also, our camera system needs a refresh. I said the rooftop was in the 70, but that's down here, it's 45. So that's the rooftop on 165. And then we do the projector upgrades every year, the laptops. We refresh our computer labs once every 3 years. Eric's wanting a structure over 201 for, snow, handicap doors, furniture, and a skylight repairs, and a 3D printer for, the computer science department, totaling 621,000. I think that's my last slide. Yep. Any questions?
Just real quick, because it stood out to me. Can you go back to the expenses? Like this year versus?
Maybe. Hold on.
Or if not, I just had a memory. I think that the food was one that was like 20% lower expected for next year. So was there something about this year that made food more expensive that we were expecting it to go away, or?
Hold on. Are you seeing my screen, or is it black?
Black.
Friendly black.
Okay, let me stop sharing that one and I'll share the other one.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine. Okay, this one?
Yes, so food services. So we're budgeting less than what the forecast actual, so.
Yeah, so we're seeing a decline in the meals being ordered. And so that's why we did that. So we should see on the revenue side, food services, that's also declining.
Okay. So there wasn't like one thing driving it, it's just lower demand.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Anything else? Kristen, did you want to add anything?
You know, the only thing I wanted to point out to folks is on the revenue tuition line, we're showing here, actually go back to your summary. I think it's easier to read one more back.
This one?
So far, yeah, that's perfect. The summary is really helpful, I think. On the tuition line, we're projecting the 15.7 million, which is a 2.5% increase over the projected, forecasted and projected 2022 tuition based on the last statement that we received. The 14.9 is really the budget number, so you can see we're projecting an increase off the budget, but we've already received some amount, I think almost 400,000 over that budget amount this year. There's still one more statement due, and that could change what that final amount for 2022 is. So we're just showing you what this last budget number was, but we're projecting based on the last DEAS report, a 2.5% increase in tuition next year. So, Leanna, what do you want to do in June or right in the next couple of weeks?
Right at the end of June.
End of June, yeah. So we'll see how that looks, but we're pretty confident that we won't be seeing a bigger decrease or any decrease. And that's all I wanted to point out to folks. Otherwise, it's a very good conservative budget for next year. And then, and as Leanna pointed out, none of the building expenses associated with the project build costs are included, but all of the existing expenses associated with the building purchase to date are included, as Leanna pointed out in the budget review. So,
Other questions for Kristen or for Liana?
So the Finance Committee is recommending that the board approve the budget as presented for 2022 to 2023.
I will look for a motion to approve the budget.
Motion to approve the budget. This is Sheila.
And a second?
Razzle seconds.
So Sheila / Razzle. Sarah, please call the roll.
Ella Gorman,
Yes.
Don Capello,
Yes.
Jill Schaefer,
Yes.
Kristen Carney,
Yes.
Liz Saul,
Yes.
Laura Webster,
Yes.
Nick Poirier,
Yes.
Raoul Porras,
Yes.
Sheila Kelly,
Yes.
Roger Jarrett,
Yes.
Salmini Sampath,
Yes.
and Zachary Prescott.
Yes.
Okay, that's everyone.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much to Liana and the Finance Committee for getting us, having a solid but conservative budget for next school year. We had a great debate and some process improvements in how we are doing the budget, and look forward to continuing those into the following year. Thank you again, especially Liana, for all the legwork to get us there, and Ellen for leading us through this. It was a great team effort. Sarah, do we have a faculty rep nomination, or is that going to be on hold till next month?
Probably on hold because I haven't been informed.
Okay, so we in the June month, along with the election of officers, we'll be accepting the faculty rep nomination and the PTO nomination for a parent rep to the board. So that is the end of our vote section of our meeting. We have consent items for review, and there are also consent items for vote. So Sheila, would you like to, or is there any discussion of the consent items for vote? We have two items here. It is the executive session disclosure statement and the memo regarding executive session minutes.
It was recommended it would be one vote, I believe.
Yes, this is one vote. So this is our opportunity as a board to call out, to separate out and discuss if desired. Seeing no discussion, I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda portion of our meeting.
So moved. This is Dawn.
I'll second Salmini.
So Dawn / Salmini. Sarah, please call the roll.
Bella Gorman,
Yes.
Dawn Capello,
Yes.
Jill Schaefer, Kristen Carney,
Yes.
Liz Saul,
Yes.
Mara Webster,
Yes.
Nick Poirier,
Yes.
Raoul Porras,
Yes.
Roger Jarrett,
Yes.
Sheila Kelly,
Yes.
Salmini Sampath,
Yes.
and Zachary Prescott.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. And Ellen, you have the floor for our executive director report.
Okay. And we'll try to pull this up. One second. Let's see. All right. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, super. All right, well, everyone, welcome out to our just before Memorial Day weekend board report. It's exciting that we've made it this far in the year. I actually can't even believe we've made it this far. Not that we've made it, but that it's May 26th, which is just amazing to me. Tonight, we are going to do a couple little thank yous, a little bit on MCAS, and then you may remember that we've done the family and staff survey, and I am not going to take the big reveal away from the committee, but there were some happy highlights that we thought we would add in. The construction update, which is really not much of an update, and then some razzle dazzle time and upcoming events. And honestly, we have lots of photos tonight. There's been lots of activities. And so you'll have an opportunity to see some of the events that we've been participating in. So first of all, a special thank you to Amanda Sensei for holding down the fort when Anders and Mike and myself were all sick and we were all out for an entire week. and even a little bit more, some of us. And she just did an amazing job along with the deans and the department chairs and everyone else who pitched in when the three of us were not in work. So grateful for her. She's done an absolutely amazing job this year, and just could not be happier that she has joined our team. So big thank you to Amanda. And also we always call Lynn McCluskey, Lynn the closer McCluskey, because Lynn just is the jack of all trades, and she just gets things done so quickly. We had a senior awards night this week. You'll see some information from that, some pictures. But we've never had such a great senior awards night, so tight. And we were done in less than 2 hours. So that was amazing. And Lynn is just all of a graduation. She put the whole senior awards night together, along with the advisors from the seniors, and she's doing the staff cookout. And so just a huge thank you to Lynn, because at this time of year, her room is just filled. And not only that, but she also distributes, and her team distributes all of the COVID kits every 2 weeks that get sent out throughout the school. So just amazing work. Also, big thank you to Sarah for being our, I call her the MCAS queen. She takes care of all the MCAS, so we don't have to worry. We just are in support roles for whatever she needs us to do. So this week, on top of everything else we had going on, we also had MCAS, the science, 8th grade science MCAS that happened yesterday and today, believe it or not. And then we just have one more section of MCAS to do. That's biology for grade 9, and that is June 7th and 8th. Once again, Sarah is she is the master of MCAS. We're so grateful for all the work she does, and you just would not believe what it takes to pull off MCAS, these many exams with this many kids, and all the work that the staff does to make that really go off seamlessly. So thanks again, Sarah. And then we're going to do a little sneak peek, like I said, of the surveys. I won't take the team's information away, but there were some things that jumped out to Anders and I, and just thought we would share it. There wasn't a whole lot that was required from this meeting as far as other than the fun things that have been going on. So I thought it'd be fun just to take a look at some of these. So there was, I took 3 questions from the parent survey and 3 questions from the staff survey, and just to highlight those. So this first one here, this is from the parent survey, and it says, I believe Amsa empowers students of all backgrounds and abilities to excel in all subjects at an advanced level. And this one is particularly meaningful to us because that is our mission, right? If we're not doing that, we're not living our mission, and living our mission has always been very important to us. So do our families think that we're living our mission? And 92% responded yes. So that was an exciting number to see. Another one from the parent survey was, I believe my student is being challenged academically at an advanced level. Once again, part of our mission, but part of our purpose as educators. So 94% of our families believe that their student is being challenged academically. That is another very meaningful piece of data for us, because that's what we're all about, right? And the last one from the parent survey, and there's some other feedback too, but Razzle will get into that next month. But these, as I said, these were just kind of our happy moments. We were hooting and howling in the office when we saw some of this. Overall, the administration answer is doing a good job, 97%, right? It just, numbers like that, just mean so much to you, especially after the few years, couple of years we've had. This just feels really, really good. But knowing that, this is a small number of folks, we've got a lot of work to do. We always want to do a little bit better each day, but it does feel nice to know that folks are overall appreciative of the work that we're doing. And I have now 3 from the staff survey. And these we've really felt were important ones as well. The tone that the school administration sets for the culture of Amsa is positive, 92%. And I went back and I looked at the survey from last year. This same question, I think worded just about the same exact way, was also 92%. So it was great to know that we didn't lose ground. I had thought there was a possibility that last year's number was high because the staff felt very supported while they were home. But it was nice to know that even a year back in school, back together, with all the ups and downs of masks and no masks and vaccines and all that, didn't make a difference. That overall, they still felt that we were working towards and providing a positive culture at the school. And then we changed the wording to this one a little bit. And I thought that this was really great. You know, overall, my morale is positive and strong. And it was 95%. So it was kind of yay. People are feeling pretty good, even though it's the end of the year. We're still feeling good about what we're doing. And, you know, I've said many times, happy staff plus happy students equals joyful learning. I also think that happy staff is happy students equals higher scores. But since we're much more about joy than scores, I'm thinking about both in this area. But I do think that when people overall feel supported, they feel good about what they do, that just spreads around. And that doesn't mean that everybody's walking on clouds all the time, but I think overall, folks are feeling pretty good about what we do. And that can be difficult in today's climate. So the last piece was my department chair / director / supervisor supports my development and my skills, my skill improvement. 100% favorable there. And, you know, we want our staff to be lifelong learners, just like we want our students to be lifelong learners. And so there's a huge shout out here to our administrative team, departments chairs, our department directors, and our staff supervisors for also, you know, working with their staff to continue to improve our skills, to provide the professional development. Part of that is the development that we receive from, you know, financial backing and support from all of you on the board. But also we've done, I think, a really good job this year too of some of the professional development that we've offered, and we're already working on our professional development for next year as well. So super happy that people feel that we want to be supportive of making our school a better place. So just, you know, I didn't want to leave off the construction project slide. I don't have anything new to add since the last time that we met. This finance committee met on Monday. They've given us a number for construction that's been now communicated to the architects. They're moving along once again. But as you know, we've moved the project a few different times, and now we're looking at that academic building. Aliana and I and Eric met with the architects about 3 weeks ago and moved some things around from their preliminary, they call them back of the envelope sketches. They look pretty good to me, but they definitely are initial sketches that we have discussed with them, and they will be getting together for us. And I hope, we usually meet on Tuesdays, I'm hoping to see something this next Tuesday coming up. And now just a little bit of Razzle Dazzle time, and this is, we've had so many fun activities, and I have to say how well these things, and you know, sometimes it feels like, oh my goodness, we got another activity, another thing to do, and then you just walk away feeling so inspired and so enriched and so excited, just feeding off of each other's joy. So this is a great program that the PTO has put together, senior sponsors, and they started this last year during the pandemic and continued it again this year. And it's just a wonderful, fun experience. They pair you up with someone and one of the students, and then you anonymously, you know, send them little thoughtful gifts and things. And then eventually there's the big reveal where you can see me with my student, my senior, and we present their sign, their lawn sign, which they can put up. And anyway, it's just a lot of fun. It's very heartwarming. And Miss Proto Judy down the bottom, you can see she's one of the local florists, and we could purchase flowers and things from her, and we purchased a sign for our seniors. So anyway, just want to share a little bit of that because I think it has really added a special feeling of joy and appreciation for our seniors. And then the International Festival, which was Sunday, May 15th. Thank you to Constantina Broom and all the other PTO folks that were involved in this, and Mark Vital in the planning. You can see down the bottom there in the center photo, that's one of our teachers, Petra Zotler. She's one of our math teachers, and she's from Germany. And so you can see the colors. It was just it was a beautiful day. We did it at the Hudson Elks Club outdoors. I was there with a table for the Capital Campaign in the building, got to answer some questions for folks. This was held on a Sunday, and it was just a absolutely lovely day. And it never ceases to amaze and inspire me of the different backgrounds and cultures and countries that our families come from. And we had a Ukrainian family there, one of our families, and their table was just beautiful and amazing. The food was wonderful. And they still have family over there. So it was meaningful on that level as well. We also had a balance day, and the PTO worked with Mike Naraki and Amanda Sensei and a couple others to provide a half-day balance day for the kids. And so it was broken up into grade levels, and they could do different activities at different times of the day. It was all scheduled out. And you can see them here playing a little spike ball, and we had some drawing, and they had chalk, and they did outdoor drawing and all, and some cards. And it was just a really nice day for the kids to remember that sometimes we all need to take a break and let our brains refresh themselves. So Senior Awards Night was this past Tuesday night. So special thank you to Bethany Bartolini Seppi, who is on maternity leave, but has been very active still with the senior class. Erin McAdams, who was the host MC of the evening. And once again, Lynn McCluskey and the team who helped her get that all set up. We did it over the Best Western. Some of you were there. It was one of the best events that I had been to. The a cappella group sang several songs, and the jazz band was amazing. And it was just a really, really fun, uplifting night. The department awards will be published by Mike Finkel. If they haven't been already, you can take a look at those. The Kia Kaha Award, which is our Resilience Award, was received by Ajax Benander, who's one of our amazing seniors. He's done an amazing thing. His story is on Facebook if you're interested, or once we get that published. I would say, I know Mike Finkel was recording that, so he's got a great story. It's very inspiring. And our Eagle Award recipient is Rachel Bibio. And I will say that Rachel is, I believe, the fourth Bibio to graduate from Amsa. Wonderful family, and she is the youngest. So Rachel is heading off to Brown University, and we will miss her and the rest of the Bibio family because, gosh, they've been a great family to have in our community. We have a presidential scholar, and I'm pretty sure this is the first presidential scholar that AMSA has ever had. This young man, Aryan Kumar, was named one of the 2022 presidential scholars. This is a national level scholar. It's a White House award. There was 161 students in the nation who received this award, and 2 of them are in Massachusetts. And Arian is one of the students from Massachusetts. So this was actually sent out to everyone around the state from the Department of Education because he was one of 2 in the whole state. So exciting, and he was selected from more than 5,000 candidates across the nation. He's a terrific kid. He really, really is an outstanding young man, very personable, and just we're very proud of him.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, Ellen, Metro West Daily News published a nice article. I just dumped it into the chat. So if anyone is looking to read that, it's a very nice article on his award.
Super, Liz. Thank you very much. I'd love to read that myself. And we have, I left Shruthi's name off. This is Shruthi Karada. I'm sorry that I will add her name on for the record. She is also one of our seniors. Shruthi's been with us for years. She's a wonderful young woman. And she was one of the National Merit Scholarship finalists, and she won a $2,500 scholarship from them. She is one of 2,500 students nationwide to be honored. She is a very impressive young woman and certainly one to watch. I thought this was a fun little piece here. This is, you can see the yearbooks. That's our yearbook group, and they've been working on the school yearbook all year, and our yearbook won an excellence award from the publisher, from Jostens. So that was exciting. It was the first time that our yearbook has won one. I can't wait to see it. There's been mention, and they've received some small awards before, but this is definitely the highest award that they've won. So that I was excited for them. And Miss Mayakin, who's our AP art teacher, this is probably the third year she's run this, and I think they're finding their stride. But great group of students there. Last night we had Arts and Science Research Night, so you can kind of see the pace we've been keeping at the school. This was the first time that we combined the Arts Night and the Science Night together. And I was concerned about the number of people on campus. I was mostly concerned about parking. My concerns were unfounded because this night went swimmingly well. It was a beautiful, beautiful evening last night. I hope that if you had a chance to come down and see it, you can see on the top left-hand side of my screen some of the presentations that the students made. And then, let's see, the art projects are on the bottom. Those were some of our AP art students. The whole white building, the 165 building, was filled with art as well. It was in all three buildings. In the lower school building, we had a cappella, we had the jazz band, we had the chorus, and Mike Finkel will also be posting this up on Facebook too. And in fact, I'd be surprised if it's not already on the YouTube channel. But one of my favorite parts of the night, I unfortunately didn't get to participate a lot and go around and see the kids work as much as I usually do, because I was running the table to talk to parents about the building project and the capital campaign project. And you can see the blue tent here. I was under there. I had a table there. And I think that this, Liana helped me with this, which I really appreciated, so I could go over to the Hilton beforehand. But how many people came over and talked to us about it? It was different at the International Festival. That was not as successful. This was a really great night. It was a beautiful night. Parents, it was a constant flow coming over and wanting to hear about the updates of the building. And we talked about the fact that we're, in the process of and launching the $2 million capital campaign project. So you can see some of the folks mingling here. But probably one of my favorite pictures, looking across the courtyard and seeing all the parents. This is the upper right-hand side. The Fame, which is part of the PTO now, but these are the parents raising money for the music program and PTO. You can see them one picture below. They were selling hot dogs and food and all of that. And then the parents were buying the food and they were sitting there. They were sitting there and socializing and enjoying on the picnic tables. And I just thought it was really heartwarming. It was one of my favorite parts of the night because it really felt like a community. It was one of the first times that we had this atmosphere of come to our campus, see what we do, and then stay and enjoy yourselves. I don't know, it just really warmed my heart to see our parents there together. And they were sitting on some of the benches and they were just hanging out. It was a lovely family night last night. So we have a few more upcoming events. We have graduation coming up on June 10th. It will be at 6 o'clock. There's a rain date on Saturday. If by any chance we end up rain on graduation, we would love to have you come. Please put it on your calendars. We also have the 8th grade Step Up Night. That's June 6th at 6:30 at the Best Western in Marlboro. And then we have our annual faculty and staff barbecue on June 21st at the Hudson Elks. You are also more than welcome to join us for that. And don't want to forget, we have our upcoming golf tournament on August 15th. And so you can look for more information on the website about that and get your foursome going. I didn't want to neglect to just to mention, as we talk about development and we talk about support and board, and where, you know, Nick Poirier's part of our board, but I also wanted just to point out and thank him for the generosity of the company that he's the partner in, Walker Development. And so, Nick, thank you for continuing third year in a row of supporting our golf tournament, and wanted to give Nick a shout out and a thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody.
Thank you, Nick. And then just kind of go Eagles. Looking forward to the summer, for sure. Any questions or anything anyone has? No questions. Okay.
Not a question, but a comment that I'm sure is in everybody's mind.
Mhm.
When you made that comment about it's so great to see people come to campus and stay and enjoy themselves. We can only look forward to that becoming more and more the norm. The more we invest in our campus, and it becomes the vision that we all have been dreaming of for years. So I
Thank you.
hope that sentiment fuels everybody's thoughts and generosity as we talk about capital campaign and everything that we're going to do for improving our campus.
That's true. I think one of the things that we talked about, and as a parent now, Raul, the back to school nights are great, but the parents they're running between classes, you know, because they're changing every 10 minutes, and it's not a relaxed kind of evening. And this just felt so, you know, old time country community, and I hope we can do more of that.
Well, that's all. And I attended the arts and science night. Got to see a number of the students talking about computer science and mechanical engineering, and fans and wind tunnels, and the arts, and showing the monthly log books that they're doing for science, and got to walk over and see the amazing artwork. And so I thought it was a fantastic night. I enjoyed talking with the students and staff, and like you said, it was a relaxed atmosphere, and not the runner. You know, the other program serves its purpose too. But this is, like you said, this is a great program. I encourage the school to continue and build on this program. It's a fantastic show and tell for the school.
It is, and I think it
job
really
well done
highlighted
for everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, it really highlighted how talented our students are in so many areas, right? They're so multi-talented, and you could just watch from, you know, one display to the other. And the other nice part was that the kids, because there were so many students up there performing and things happening, they were watching each other's performances. They were supporting each other. And we had more kids on campus for this event than we've ever had as well. So it was a super night. And the team, Sarah Preston, huge shout out to her, Jess Bowen, Ed Harlow, and Christy Jagowski and her team. It was a great night.
Fantastic. Any more additional questions or comments for Ellen? Great. Thank you very much, Ellen. Great job. Next up is the parent representative report. Bella.
So I did receive, I guess, more emails than normal this week, and it was really, the theme was just the horrific incident that happened in Texas, and just concerned parents about our community as well as security. And have talked to Mr. Naraki about it, and we've addressed a lot of the parent concerns, but I think there's more discussion to happen about, you know, whether there should be a police officer that pops in. You know, Marlboro does have one on site at Whitcomb. I believe he goes to all the different schools. So anyway, yeah, so I know the email went out today to the community. And I think we're doing all the right steps towards that. And I think, there might be further discussion later in terms of security and police and that sort of thing, and drills.
Right. There's pros and cons to police on campus. There is a salary cost, right? That's a unfunded mandate, potential mandate, but there's a lot to consider there and a lot of discussion around having, a constant police presence on campus and the pros and cons of that. But certainly, I think one of the things that's going to help us is once we close in that center campus, because that's always made everyone feel vulnerable. And I think the new configuration will help a lot. And I do want to point out to everyone that all of the staff received the best ALICE training we've ever had last August. Anthony Montesian is our crisis intervention director. We have a whole team of crisis intervention folks on site that meet regularly, and the staff all received training in August. Also the new students received ALICE training that came in, so the new 6th graders, and then any new student that was new to the school. The actual ALICE drill with the entire school we did several years ago. Lots of thoughts around how that went. You have to do it with the police department. They're very difficult to organize because they're very busy themselves. They had 2 or 3 different police departments that had joined in for that. So it's kind of a logistics thing to put together as well. But I've already talked to Anthony about what we can get started for next year. But terrible tragedy. I mean, just absolutely devastating and heartbreaking. It happened right, prior to senior night, and I did mention it. Just a tragedy.
Yep. And that's really all I have. That was really the main topic.
Thank you, Bella. Any questions for Bella? Faculty rep, Zach.
So again, I mean, the tragedy has very much been on everyone's mind, faculty included. Kind of a lot of the same thoughts there. The only other thing I had actually came up revolving around our evaluations that faculty members go under. So for those who are not familiar, all teachers get 2 evaluations done a year, one by their department head, one by an outside observer. The only, not really complaint, more of concern, was regarding transparency of criteria in those evaluations. So we can be ranked, and I checked just to make sure I had them all. We can be ranked on falling below a standard, partially meeting a standard, and exceeding a standard. The concern from this particular staff member was just regarding what actually qualifies and exceeds and how staff can reach that. I've talked to Ellen about this, some ideas about how to get those criteria out so teachers are more aware of what's being looked for by the outside observers, and the department head observers. But that was really the one thing, was just trying to be slightly more transparent and figure out how to get that information into teachers' hands.
Yeah, we had a great meeting with Zach about this. We do have a document that we created actually at the beginning of this year with the department chair. So at the next department chair meeting, we just want to let them know that we will be distributing that. We'll put it on, we have like a staff form area on Google, a drive, and we'll post it up in there for anyone who's interested.
Any questions for Zach? Thank you, Zach, and thank you, Ellen, for your response to Zach's question. Next up, that ends the executive or the report section of the meeting. Is there any items that the board wishes to flag for further discussion?
No, Roger, I just had a question. I didn't know if going forward, if the board would like an update on the executive director search and how that's going, any sort of milestones. I don't know exactly where it would fit in the agenda.
Yes,
I'm happy to provide an update.
yes, I would like to put that at the end of the chair business. I'll pass the baton to you at that point.
Sounds good.
Thank you for raising that. All right, no other items flagged for discussion. On to chair business. So first I'm going to change order slightly. So first announcement that in the June meeting is our annual board meeting, in which, since this being an even year, we will have the board officer elections will be done in our June meeting. And second, I'd like to pass the baton to Raul for any initial survey task force results.
Yeah, I'll keep it short because our plan as a task force was to discuss the results among the task force first and then present it in the June meeting. So we'll have a full report out in the June meeting, but you saw in Ellen's report today how she summarized some of the positive sides and things. So expect more in the June meeting. One quick comment is that, as you may recall from the discussion, we simplified the survey, try to make it shorter and drive participation. And the response rates that we got were not that much different than the previous years. So it's something to think about. That it's a low response rate. We get very helpful feedback for those that participate, but we're always looking for ways to increase that response rate. So we'll talk more about how, like, any ideas that we'll have to do that, but that's one of the things that struck as we looked at the initial responses and the response rates. But more on that in June, I guess, is the bottom line.
Thank you. Next up, I wanted to talk about planning for our offsite strategic planning meeting. We've currently asked the board to save the morning of June 18th. And there's been a lively discussion between Raul, myself, Don Somini, in regards to what we should cover in our offsite. How do we make best use of that time to benefit the school? So let's see. So maybe I'll do a quick summary in sort of chronological order of the ideas that were floated out, and then we can discuss as a board to see how we want to proceed. I'm not tied to any, I'm not wed to any of the ideas. I don't feel strongly that any of them are the best. And I think that we just need, as a board, need to figure out what is our approach, how we can best use this time for the benefit of the school. One of the ideas was to do a SWOT analysis of our organization. SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And that is a tool that's used for planning. It was also would dovetail a bit with our executive director search. A second was to continue to refine the goals. We've got good 10 to 5 year goals, but now get down to 1 year actionable goals, breaking up as groups and going to that. A third was to focus, given our work on our vision statement, to take our vision goals and crystallize them and make them into actionable items. And I'm not doing a fair summary of that third goal. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to others who had championed various ideas to further describe theirs. Somini, would you like to?
Sure. Let me just pull up my email for a second, just so that I can talk through what I had said. So I was listening, and I'd love for Don and Raul to chime in as well. I think I was mostly in agreement in terms of the way that Don had binned our goals around basically the themes being fundraising, corporate partnership, financial planning, and campus build out. Those were good anchors for us to consider because we really have a vision for the campus. And it really gets at the vision that we developed in our offsite in I believe early 2020. And I said that really got at the fact that our vision statement was around the academic model, around building a culture that strives to foster trust, respect, pride, hard work. So those are parts that we could hit. But mostly we would be hitting resources and building out our community. So we talked about investing in our infrastructure, facilities, and resources, and expand our relationship with families and community partners to contribute and collaborate in service of our academic mission, which really our infrastructure plan right now is sort of very much in support of that. And I'm looking for us to build on that vision. And lastly, talent and retention of talent was a very big one for us. So attract and retain highly effective, creative, and passionate professionals who are champions of our academic excellence. And again, having great facilities, the lab build outs that we have, and generally supporting our excellent academics, again, feels like a good goal for the board to focus on. So from that perspective, I really felt like we had the themes and we should know our goals because we have fundraising and collaboration opportunities. And we should sit down and put together an action plan that the board can execute on. And those are the things that are going to serve us over the next year and the 2 years from now. And I really feel like we need to be rowing in the same direction and have a concerted effort. And it feels to me like the committees, if we go off and work on our own, we're not going to have direction from each other. And really, whether it's governance or development or edu committee, we really need to, or finance, we need to be taking direction from people who are already looking at the campus build out and what our finances need to look like. And the capital campaign already has plans around the community partnerships and the corporate partnerships. And I would like for the board to think about how we're going to support those goals in a much more tangible way, whether it makes a plan for us to go and make the calls ourselves and report back on progress and really create some ownership around that issue. So just wondering if we could sit down and chalk out an action plan for the board so we can support AMSA's goals in the near future, because that's going to help us build the more long-term strategy.
And Roger, just to piggyback on that, because that's kind of where my thoughts were as well. And I summarize it like this. I don't know if this is the best to summarize it, but we talk about strategic planning and we have a strategy and we already have the strategy, but I think we need to move from strategy to tactics. So doesn't mean we need to change the name of the meeting to tactical planning, but it should be more tactical than we have done it, because that's the next step. You know, we have a strategy at the high level, but we struggle distilling that strategy into something more specific that we can tangibly. I think I heard from another board, somebody said, hey, just give me homework. I said,
Yeah.
well, just give me homework and I'll know what to do, right? So we don't know how to give each other homework on taking those strategic goals into something more specific. And maybe that's the same thing that Samini's saying. You know, we have a big idea, you know, yes, the building, yes, retention and competitive salaries for the staff are things we all said we want to do. We don't know how to move the needle, and that's where we can make the focus. And I know that doesn't answer the questions how we're going to do it in a, you know, half a day, full day, but whatever we end up doing when we get together should be something that is the discussion part of it, right? So if we're going to do something that we could have done offline, each by ourselves, then we shouldn't do it at the offsite. You know, we should have something, you know, homework or something to do to prepare for that. But then the way I think we make effective that time is to do the kinds of things that we can only do when we're together, you know, discussion, you know, or making sure we're on the same page and how we do these things. And I do think that it requires facilitation, you know, whether it's one of us or an external party. I know we were talking to some folks that can help us do that. So again, I don't have the answer, but that's kind of the direction we were all thinking about.
Raul, I think you summarized a lot of that tactical piece that I've been trying to say. What I would ask is, I'm looking to see if the board agrees with that direction. It's really about what the format we want to work on. And if you have some ideas you want to throw out so that then Dawn, Raul, Roger, and I can crystallize those ideas and really make a plan of action for that day, then that would be great. So agreement on, like, are we agreed on the objective for the offsite, and then any ideas around the format that you'd like us to pursue. That's what I was hoping that we could achieve in this discussion today.
And just to chime in, and I agree with everything that's been said, I was looking at it when I chimed in as to what are we going to focus on. I think what I was thinking was, we've had some meetings recently where we've discussed that we won't be able to build out the campus as fast as we would like. And we talked about how development and fundraising has just been a challenge, and that's all fine. But I think I've heard from enough board members that they do want to help with fundraising and development, but they really lack either the tools or the knowledge or just partaking in an overall plan. And my guess is there is a plan. We just haven't heard about it at the board meetings recently. So I take that on myself. I haven't reached out and asked what the current plan to reach out to build corporate partnerships is. I just know that we need them. And we're all willing to help do that. So when it comes to this offsite, I was starting to think of it as prioritizing our things, right? Because a SWOT analysis will be helpful. I think a tutorial for the board members on how to be more effective in fundraising and helping develop corporate partnerships. I think that to me is the number one. But I think this board, and I'm not speaking for everyone, so please chime in, but I don't believe any of us, perhaps maybe Maura, really know how to do that effectively. So if it was me, I would ask that at a strategic planning meeting, perhaps we decide, to Salmini's point, what is our main objective for the next 12 to 18 months, for example. For me, it would be fundraising, corporate partnerships, and then think about what could we do on the 18th to train up the board in that. And again, this is just one idea. I think the SWOT is also helpful. I think it could just be accomplished in other ways. So those are my 2 cents. I would love to see personally, I don't know if, we can make better use of Betsy, who we have on a monthly basis. Maybe she could give us a tutorial or a training. And I'm just sort of brainstorming out loud, but I agree. If we're going to meet and give up some time on the weekend, I want to have objectives. I want it to lead to an action plan. I want to have robust discussion.
I'm going to echo everyone's sentiment. I deal with many clients, and all the work I do is project based, and it's 1, 2, 3 years out. We come up with project plans, we come up with milestones. What I hear in my language, it's like a task list, a to-do list to get our work done, and people to be held accountable, like, and action items with people's names on it, and dates. And then when we meet at our board meetings, we report on, have we made progress? If we haven't made progress, what are our barriers? How do we course correct? And so I'm definitely in agreement. Like, we need a plan. I would love to hear from Ellen and Maura, because Ellen, both of you are part of the capital campaign committee. How can the board effectively support and help you guys in, achieving our fundraising goal? And I know it's going to be hard. I mean, the economy is tough right now. The market's not doing well. Companies are saying no. Interest rates are, it's just all the things are against us. And I just feel that, if we could spend time putting a solid plan together with solid action items, with people's names assigned to it, and to be held accountable, I guess I'm really for that.
It's like creating a playbook for us to execute on, basically. That's what I think I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think a how-to manual, really, anytime we have a challenge like this, I think so many said that in the email. I thought that was a great phrase. And again, if we have Betsy, I consider her almost on retainer. And I'm sure she's busy doing Amsa things already, but that might be something useful, or maybe there's another way to do it. Maybe we have someone amongst us who could lead us through it. I'm open to anything. Again, to Bella's point, I just want to be as supportive as we can as a board, to accomplishing this objective.
Yeah, Betsy's happy to help. I reached out to her when Roger had mentioned that there may be a section on that day around capital campaign. It was just an initial, conversation with her, but she's happy to help us with whatever we need. Maura, you may want to add some.
Yeah, I can. I was going to give a little capital campaign. I'll give more detail during the development committee report, but we have discussed a couple of these things, and because we've been sort of a little bit delayed with the project changing, some of the things we've talked about is I know that Ben and I will most likely be reaching out to everybody one-on-one to talk about our role individually in the campaign, because that, as you guys all know, is a really important piece to a capital campaign, but not just in the giving role, but as Dawn said, how do we go forth and make these corporate contacts, right? We've been doing it as a committee very preliminarily and have some forward momentum, which is great at the stage we're at, but we need more. And so we have talked to Betsy about doing this kind of playbook, actually. It's a great word for it, but like a mini training for the board so that we feel comfortable. Not that we can go rogue, right? But so that we can actually work collectively to get this done and to get all of us to understand what our comfort level is with whatever role that is in making connections, building relationships, and making asks, because there is an art to it. It is very much a dance. And Bella alluded to the fact that the dance is a little bit challenging at the moment. But I will say, just to kind of put my 2 cents in there, since I'm unmuted, action is important. I think action is key, but we also need to motivate ourselves, because I think, like Razzle said, we're not good at giving or doing homework, because I think we've been in this sort of like analysis paralysis bit. And that could be my observation, but the action piece needs to be married to our individual like excitement to do it. And I know we're all super busy and it's been a long couple of years. But we have something that we can grab onto and get excited about and really contribute our legacy, our pieces to the legacy of Amsa moving forward, right? This is like, we have a big responsibility right now. And it like when you start to think about it and get excited about it and the role that we can each play, and it's all going to be different. But it's really, really important. And I think that marrying that piece of it, like getting ourselves motivated and psyched up to want to participate and want to take homework assignments and do them, is going to be a really important piece of this offsite. So I can kind of update you guys and work through the committee to find out what details we can get for the capital campaign on that day. And then I'll kind of share just some financial updates during the development report.
Sounds really great.
And Ellen, just to follow up on the Betsy piece, if it ends up that she's willing and the right one to help us, if she's not available this Saturday, the 18th, I could see us scheduling a different night meeting as well. I know Saturday in June during graduation and everything, it might be tough anyway. I didn't even really think of that till today. I'm not sure if we have a head count for even board members, but just in terms of making sure that, we have a well thought out plan. To Maura's point, I think we can get excited about this. So if Betsy can't do the 18th, a Saturday in June with short notice, it's certainly understandable. And I'm not going to speak for anyone, but I'm certainly willing to, pick a night if that's easier for everyone, given everything going on. But I'll just suggest that folks reach out to Roger and let him know if you're going to be attending, and if you can't, and there's no judgment. It's a busy time. And if it's better to schedule something with Betsy at a night meeting to do this particular piece and then talk about how a SWOT can be done separately, still important. I don't want to give the impression that I'm unwilling to address everything. I just want to make sure we all have time and can be in the right headspace to do it. So maybe everyone just reach out to Roger with your availability for that Saturday if you haven't already. And we'll go from there, and then we'll figure out when Betsy could help us if again, that's a good idea.
One other thought, Roger and I were communicating a little bit this week ourselves, just around what would the 18th look like, what, not necessarily topics really, but, how do we include the capital campaign side of things and Betsy and fundraising and all of that. One of the thoughts was, do we put the capital campaign conversation training to September when we're hitting the ground running with the new school year? Will it lose momentum in June when everyone's about to head off to summer vacation and things like that? Do we hit it and hit the ground running in September? So I'll just throw that out there. We are flexible. Betsy's willing to help. I mentioned the June 18th date to her, and that was something that seemed like that would work for her. Although I told her a couple days ago that that we weren't going to go in that direction. So just as a thought, in the school, our cycles and our heads run very differently than I think sometimes in industry. And we live very much on a school academic calendar. And when I look at this time of year, what I think of is I know once that bell rings on the 21st, people are gone and they're off and their mind is somewhere else. So just something to consider.
Other thoughts? People who haven't had a chance to speak yet?
Or maybe an opposite question. Any disagreement with what the purpose of that day should be?
I think that big fundraising is a great. I think that fundraising trumps the SWOT analysis. I think the SWOT analysis fits nicely in the executive search process, and the executive search consultant, once we hire one, would guide us through that. And it felt like, after thinking about it some more, that we were getting the cart ahead of the horse in the SWOT analysis or the organizational analysis that we will need to do as part of the executive search. So I think prioritization wise, I think that fundraising is the better use of time.
Yeah, and just to share a thought on that, maybe it's too early to tell, but when we requested proposal, maybe Dawn will talk more about that when she gets an update on the search, but we requested the firms to tell us what an organizational assessment would be like as part of the search. And we also asked them to separate the cost for that, just for us to know if we had enough time and if it's going to add a considerable amount of cost to the search. And in the couple of responses that I've seen, it's built in to the search process and it's not called out if it's a separate cost. So it's going to be part of the search process. And I think that's the way it should be. It's just that I wasn't sure if we had enough time with the search to do and by the way, when I say organizational assessment, it is a SWOT analysis and more, because when I think of what we would do as a board getting together on a Saturday to do a SWOT, it's our opinion and our perception of what our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. An organizational assessment is everybody's going to get asked to answer that question. And then the firm's going to do the legwork for us to know the answer to those four things from all stakeholders, not just from the board, which is, obviously better because it's better informed by different people. So anyway, long way of saying that, yes, it should be part of the search process if we have enough time to do it in the timeline that we have for the search.
So I think I believe I'm hearing consensus around the fundraising creation of a playbook as the theme of the board offsite. Are there any counter proposals to that? Or do we get a thumbs up or just make sure that? And then I think the question of the challenge is what date. We have two proposals for the date. We have a September proposal at the beginning of the school year, and we have a June proposal to start now. I can argue for both, but the pluses of June is that it's now, we can get it rolling. We don't wait until September to really get started with the development / fundraising. If we wait till September, the school year starts, a lot of things are happening. But the alternative is we have a summer in between, and number of people, myself included, will be going on vacation for parts of the summer. Maura, I think you're the expert here.
So I would say, I mean, Ellen brings up a good point, right? The scheduling from a school perspective and an academic perspective, but also mentioned that in sort of industry, the rest of, I can say this as both an industry and an academic, that the industry side of me keeps going, right? Like that side of the world sort of does keep going. I would love to see us get as much training and education as possible so that we can also practice over the summer, right? Because we sort of want to hit the ground running in September. And for people who haven't done fundraising or made an ask or made an introduction knowing an ask is coming, because sometimes it makes you feel a little weird, like I'm going to ask you for money in 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, how do I authentically build this relationship? So I would love, as long as we have a majority of the board able to be there on the 18th, that we start this process and start sort of the conversation and the education and the excitement so that we can, on the times when we're not on vacation and we're not doing other things during the summer, but on that off chance that we can make those connections while we're out on a boat or while we're on vacation, right? It's not just companies in Marlboro, Hudson, Clinton, Maynard, right? Like this is anyone we meet anywhere that might have an interest in what we do and the type of students that we put out into the world. Right. And believe in our mission. So I think the sooner the better, honestly, because you never want to miss an opportunity to make a connection.
Oh, I agree with Maura, except I cannot make that date. So I agree that the sooner the better. And I agree, like I actually socialize with corporate, colleagues during the summer. So I think that it would be a missed opportunity if we started in September, and I would like to get conversations rolling or, even have that training. And if we're really all committed, I think starting now, sooner rather than later, so we can hit the ground running in September is better.
That sounds great. I'm glad that people want to do it. That's fantastic. Do we send out a doodle poll on the date though? Because if we honestly, if we're gonna do it,
right?
We're missing 4 or 5 people. I don't know how helpful that is.
I can't make it. I've got a family fun weekend camping that has been planned for me. So, and you guys know me, and camping really isn't my thing. So, so I will
little
be
kid,
away.
that's not your thing.
I will be away that weekend camping.
So in other words, Nick, you're going to be a hostage, correct?
I am definitely going to be held hostage by my children and my wife.
There you go.
And her family.
Well, I don't know how we came up with June 18th.
It was just a trial balloon that was floated.
Sure.
That was looking for.
But I agree that we could probably throw out some other dates and see if we can make it. In my experience, what we accomplish at the offsite will be great, and we will get to the end and say, okay, we have something tangible, but we will still have to do some cleanup and report back and make sure everything's ready. So if we wait till September to do that, then I think that's going to be late. So I would prefer to start sometime prior to September, whatever that means, so that as we organize, I think if we need some of that cleanup to happen and for us to get everybody on board, we have a little time to really get to the start line, if you will, on time. Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like we have, the next steps are to get a doodle poll out to the board, and also maybe the first step is for Ellen and I to reach out to Betsy to get her availability first, since it would be rather useless to schedule something without Betsy. And then open it up for anything in June and see what works best.
What are you thinking for hours? For example, I mean, if we're talking 4 hours, you're talking a Saturday or Sunday. If we're talking 2 hours, potentially could be a 6 to 8. What are you thinking? And do you really want to do it in person, or all on remote, or all in person, or?
Is there any homework we can do in advance? So are there videos or anything else that we could do as
Potentially, but I haven't, we haven't talked about any
Yeah.
details at all.
So my 2 cents on that, Ellen. I feel like summer is going to be tough in terms of travel and weekends, but what if we tried to get 1 2-hour session scheduled in person? Because I honestly think we'd benefit as a board for spending some time together, to get to that excitement and to, we've been doing this for Zoom for so long, and I know many of you know each other long before I started. But what if we did a 2-hour, try to find a doodle time that works, and then maybe even another 2-hour if needed to get us off and running to a playbook that we can launch and, be ready to launch as soon as it's ready, but really for aiming for September, but also summer conversations when the opportunity arises. So I would just say maybe we doodle some nights and see if we can get enough traction around those, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay, I will, I'll email Betsy tonight when we get off and throw out some dates for her. Yeah, I'm just thinking, I'm gone the last week in June in that first week of July 4th, the school closes down. So I'm limited a little bit myself in the end of June.
Yeah, so possibly a format, if time works, would be two 2-hour sessions.
Okay.
That's what and it could even say 2+ hours. We'll see what people are, if ideally in person, but I understand with everything with logistics that it could be preferred in person, but hybrid for those who can't make it in person as a meeting format, but highly preferred that we meet in person. I think will be much more productive. All right. Oh, gonna sneeze here, so I'll try to hang on. So I think we got action steps that I will send out a doodle poll, and Ellen will get the dates that are our candidates to work from, and try to reserve try to aim for 2-hour sessions before the end of June. If logistics work out. I know it's already the end of May and we got Memorial Day coming. So June is upon us almost already. All right, well, thank you board for the great discussion on that. I think we ended in a good place. Dawn, ED search update.
So we have 2 major things underway already. So one is to find a search firm to assist us. We have already, as a group, the small group, as a reminder, is myself, Anders, Raul, Jill, Liz, and Liana. We have already posted a date for proposal. We have already contacted 17 companies, posted a date for proposals, sent them our scope of services beforehand. The date has passed. The due date was 5/25, and we are in process now of reading through the proposals. Our next meeting will be June 3rd, and we'll start our discussion about the list that we received, the proposals, and we will start the whittling down process with the goal being to bring the top search firm candidates to the full board of trustees for next steps. So that is the search firm update. All positive there so far. The other major item is to create a stakeholder search committee that we talked about quite a bit at our last meeting. That the group working on behalf of the Board of Trustees is myself, Raul, and Anders. We'll be adding to that committee. Anders took the lead on creating an email to send to the community. We worked through it over email, and we've approved the email. It will go out June 1st. We figured send it out after the holiday weekend, and we will ask anyone who's interested in participating to get back to Anders. He volunteered by June 8th. And then we will schedule a meeting and create the stakeholder search committee. So that is my update for tonight, but everything's moving forward at a good pace.
Approximately how many responses did you get back among the 17 plus that you contacted?
Let's see. So I would say it is right around 5. So. interesting times in the hiring field.
Very good. Other questions for Dawn? Any other questions in regards to the chair report? Chair business is complete. Education committee, Liz.
Okay, so I actually have a presentation tonight based on the senior exit survey. I'll share that on my screen with all of you. And Mike will be presenting as well. So Mike, if you want to come off mute in case you have anything to add, feel free to chime in as well. But just to give you a little background, hang on. There we go. Okay, so just a little background on the exit survey. So the idea came up from our student representative on the education committee, Bridget Beschlein. And so she had proposed, I want to say probably back in November or December, the idea of creating a survey for students before they leave, the seniors before they leave, to sort of give their perspective around what their experience at Amsa has been like, and what changes they would like to see or would recommend, that sort of thing. So the whole idea started there, and then Bridget took it with Mr. Naraki and the Principals Council, as well as student government, in order to come up and develop the senior exit survey. So that was really the whole background behind the exit survey. So this is the first year that this has ever been done. And part of it is because a lot of times, in the past, the seniors will come back, the seniors that graduate will come back in January and do the, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically when they come back and talk to the students and they talk to parents and sort of give their perspective on what it was like to be at Amsa. But a lot of times they may forget about things, or by the time they're already in college mode, they may not even be aware of some things. So we thought it would be interesting to gather the feedback before the students actually left, in order to sort of get their perspective. We're not sure if this is something that will continue. I personally would suggest that it is something that could be continued, because I think that, and this, we talked amongst the education committee, and I gathered feedback because we weren't able to have our May meeting. But, if one thing comes up that gets, worked on and resolved, and I think, one of the things that came up this year, and I'm not sure if it was during the preparation or the actual survey phase, Mike, was around senior parking. And so that was something that Mike and Amanda were able to immediately take on and resolve some of the challenges there. So Mike, I'm not sure if that's something you want to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, I don't want to steal all the time here from you, Liz, but just in regards to there were definitely some key themes. So I'll jump in here and there. I don't want to interrupt you too much. First off, that event you were talking about when the alumni return and talk to parents and students in January is called Back to the Future.
Oh, I knew I should know what it is.
But yeah, there were some key themes. I think the very important factor to keep in mind is that these particular seniors, their sophomore year was bottomed out due to COVID. So in 2020, the second half of their sophomore year was really, all through Zoom, survival mode pretty much. And then their junior year did not really exist. That was last school year. We were fully remote. They missed out on a ton of traditions. And even this year, up until March, I think it was March 8th, maybe, we lifted the mask mandate at the school, and we kind of opened up the opportunity for more collaboration, communication, bigger crowds meeting together. So they really missed out a lot, and you could definitely feel that through the survey. The student parking was definitely one of the key themes. They were very frustrated about that, especially once the winter hit. There were piles of snow taking up multiple spots, so the students were expressing their concerns, and we were kind of trying to tell them, just hold on, we hear you, but there's really not much we can do right now because of the winter. And then right around the time this survey was coming to a close, we went around, Miss Sensi and I went around, we counted, because we were hearing all different numbers of how many parking spots we had on campus. So we walked around and actually counted them and wrote it all down in a notebook. So we do have that number somewhere now. And then we figured out a nice solution for the seniors in their parking. And just from sending that one email, I received some messages from the student government representatives, and they said, you know, they're like, Mr. Naraki, thank you very much. Just this change has like flipped the morale of the student body. Like, we're all very happy right now. But I'll let Liz continue on. There are a couple other key themes that I think will be of interest to all of you out there.
Thanks, Mike. And yes, I actually just saw a couple of the comments around the feedback rate. And yes, we did get a very good feedback rate, mostly because it was conducted during their senior gym class. So that really boosted the participation rate, and it allowed us to gather a lot more data. The one thing we did find out, because it was conducted in March over a couple-week period, and what we did find out, because a lot of students don't find out don't get their college feedback until April. So March is actually a very stressful time for our seniors. And I will say, as a senior parent, it is a very stressful time. So one of the quick lessons learned we got right away was, okay, let's wait until, you know, April next year, if we were to do this again, to gather the feedback then, because it is, you know, I think that, you know, the seniors, their heads are in a whole different space during that period of time. So that was a big lesson learned for this year. Let's see, hang on. Okay, here we go. So one of the first topics, and it's labeled non-scientific. I didn't want to call it non-academic, because I do think that these, you know, three things are, you know, very critical for academics, but you could look at them as non-academics. But the first one was around athletics, and the majority of the seniors did feel that we do a good job integrating athletics into the culture of the school. You know, and one thing I would say around this, you know, and again, this is from the last 7 years of experience. I think that the academic program has grown exponentially during this period of time. And I think that, you know, obviously the work that Mr. Jones has done, along with, you know, other members of the community, has been extremely significant. And also, I think the other thing is, you know, if you follow some of the academics within the school, you'll also see there's been a lot of really positive results within the academic community. I think even right now, we have a number of the teams are currently in postseason play. We've had a number of teams that have gone to districts and states recently. So there is definitely a very, you know, positive vibe around the athletics, and certainly the students do feel that. Some of the things that they did make comments about is that they'd like more opportunities for student athletes to say wear their game jerseys on game days at school. Now, obviously, there's some challenges there because we have because there's a dress code, so there's got to be, you know, some discussion there. Another thing that came up is that the student athletes would like to have Letterman jackets. And I can honestly say I do believe my Letterman jacket is still somewhere. I don't know if it's in my house or in one of my sister's houses, but I still think that I have my Letterman jacket from back in the day. So those are something that are, you know, something that's important. And then, you know, just another suggestion was around maybe promoting when there are important games coming up. And again, just to sort of boost attendance. And I will say, having gone through the basketball season this past year, and they did go to the playoffs. It was very interesting to go to other schools where there were big crowds, and unfortunately, at Amsa the crowds were a little smaller. So hopefully, as the school develops and develops their own gyms, and hopefully that will start to become something that happens more and more. In terms of music and art, some of the seniors felt that there is room for improvement here, and this is something that has been a big challenge. But I think actually it's interesting that art night was last night, so and it was such a positive experience this year. But some of the suggestions that came out of the survey were maybe offering more music classes during the school day, or promoting, the current programs more frequently. And so obviously the music programs have been challenged over the course of the last couple of years because of, the fact that students were remote and there weren't really the opportunities to perform. So hopefully, given that the last, month or so, there have been opportunities to have more performances, live performances, that will start to make a big difference. And then the third topic was around school spirit. And again, the majority of the seniors did believe that we can do a better job integrating school spirit into the Amsa culture. And some of the suggestions there were around making the school building look more like actual school buildings and not office buildings. And again, that's something that, will be considered over time, because now that we own the buildings, we have a lot more control around what they look like. And then also just, having more than one official spirit week. And I think this year there was a second one, Mike, if I'm not mistaken, in the
Yep.
spring as well.
Yeah, there was a second one, and our plan moving forward is actually to have 3 around the fall, winter, and spring season. So that was one big suggestion. And they kind of tied school spirit together with facilities quite a bit throughout the survey, like the look of the campus, the look of the buildings, the interior, like suggesting there were some ideas for having murals painted and things like that. Even some mention of in the bathroom, making the bathrooms look nicer, or have some student ownership in there, so that maybe that would lead to less activity and vandalism potentially in there. That we also have these rocks all around campus, big, good size. I wouldn't call them boulders necessarily, but decent sized rocks. Anyone who drives through probably knows what I'm talking about, located different portions of the campus. And we've given the seniors around March, actually, when the weather cleared up, we told them they could paint those and decorate those. They haven't really taken advantage yet. I think it was kind of late notice. I don't know if they plan on doing anything before they leave here, but regardless, for the future, we're trying to make it look more like a school. That was one key piece. So they kind of tied school spirit to the spirit weeks, acknowledging the arts, music, sports programs, but also definitely just the appearance of the campus, having it look more inviting, more like a school, more decor around there.
Yes, I think the comment, Mike, was a happier looking place.
Yes, that was one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and that's actually a good point, because one of the other things that came under school spirit was more announcements and hype around upcoming events, not just sports, but also, whether it's arts or academic clubs or other competitions that are going on. It's always good to make sure that we're recognizing everything. I think that, when we think about school spirit, a lot tends to focus on athletics, but there is a lot going on. And I think, that what we heard about the other night at the senior recognition night with one of our students being named a presidential scholar, which is just a huge accomplishment. So that to me is something that really should be front and center, both at the school and on the website. So that was sort of that piece. And then next, is feedback on the core values and respect. And so the feedback that we heard there was really, the seniors would like to have the staff be a little more empathetic around, both what's going on inside and outside the classroom. So really, there's a lot of heavy focus on a lot of the school's policies, but there's been like sort of a lack of connection for these students these last couple of years. And obviously this particular, holding the survey this particular year where I think that this class had a very unique experience in high school, hopefully we'll start to see, a shift over the next couple of years. But certainly, I think that, this particular group had a much more unusual high school experience than hopefully, the students will in the next couple of years. So hopefully it'll start to normalize in the future. So the next one is around mental health. And this one, I don't think comes as any big surprise. And that was one of the things that a lot of the folks on the education committee did point out, because we do have mostly parents on the education committee. And one of the things that they pointed out was what the feedback we received in the survey is certainly similar feedback to what they're hearing from whether it's their students or their students' friends. So a lot of this was not, new to the group, but, almost 85% of the seniors express that they are academically stressed, and don't necessarily feel like they have a favorable work-life balance. So, many of the comments submitted suggested that the school focus on providing students with more lessons on or strategies on how to properly, balance the work and what they can be doing, to sort of alleviate some of that stress. So that was some of the feedback we received there.
Liz, if I could jump in real quick on this. For just this whole slide overall, we do work with an organization called Challenge Success. We struck up that partnership, I believe it was probably in the fall of 2019, like beginning of the 2019-2020 school year. And we also worked with them when we were virtual through Zoom. And it's an organization, it's based out of Stanford, out in California. Very reputable organization that really focuses on working with high performing schools and really focusing on the balance of academic expectations and also student well-being. We continue to have a relationship with them, partnership with this organization. We've had several staff professional developments. We've included students in those professional developments. I think it was just earlier this year, we had students volunteer at all different grade levels, and they kind of gave their experiences. They followed prompts. We had questions for them, and they shared their school experience with the entire staff watching. We did it through Zoom, but we were all on campus. So it was, we had about 150 people plus some students circle around computers in their offices, and we did conduct that. It's a great organization. You could Google them, Challenge Success. We are a Challenge Success school. We'll continue to do that. And it focuses on what we're looking at right here. Again, like Liz said, and like I said at the beginning, this class unfortunately had quite a rough experience high school wise, missing out on a lot of traditions and a lot of classroom face-to-face time. So like I said, you can kind of feel it through some of these numbers. I guess I'll stop there and let you go on, Liz.
Okay, thanks, Mike. The next one is around academic dishonesty, and this was an interesting one. And I think that this is something that, there's always been some discussion about and concern about, but, what we heard from the seniors was they felt like 3/4 of them felt like that probably half their class or more had cheated during their time here at Amsa. And again, that's something that, is obviously something that's very concerning to us. one of the top reasons that the seniors believe students cheat is due to the big workload, as well as lack of time to get everything done. Some of the other reasons is really just, maybe it's family pressure, maybe it's competition among friends. I think that, one of the challenges, and Mike, I'm not sure if this has come up with the Stanford group, but I think that, one of the challenges when you have a school that is so academically challenging to begin with, it just sort of fosters that competition, to do well and to do better. So I think that, that's just unfortunately a result of the type of school that we have here at Amsa.
Yeah, Liz, if I may, tell me if I'm bothering you.
No, not at all. Go for it.
And those of you on the board, I know you're not involved in the day-to-day aspect. I hope you're finding this interesting because it's coming directly from our students. But just for academic dishonesty, I think that they listed the top. I don't have it right in front of me right now, but lack of time was listed as one of the key reasons. Competition among friends. I think knowing that others are academically dishonest, and just busy work, trying to find. They're in this constant battle of trying to find that work-life balance. Also, when they feel like they have busy work for homework. That's, I think a lot of mention was in the comments about on homework, they share a lot of their answers with friends. This number right here, believe it or not, it pretty much mirrors survey results that we conducted in a survey we conducted through Challenge Success back in 2019, 2020. I think we were right around 75% as well. And we were actually not at the national average compared to the schools that Challenge Success worked with across the country. I think it was more like 81% was the average at other high-performing districts that they work with nationwide. Not saying that that's a great thing. We'd like this number to be lower. But I think, as an administrator here, someone who's been here for 12 years, I look at that number and I don't blame the students. I question, why. It's like, why are we putting them in these positions? And they gave us some good feedback here. So, earlier on, I don't want it to sound like we're making excuses at all because these students had a rough go at it because of COVID and all the disruptions. It's not an excuse. Those are just, it's just factual information. But with all that being said, their feedback was great. And this administration outreach and accessibility, one of the key items here in the comment section was all about the parking lot. They were very upset at this time. It was very clear with how, their perception of how we were handling the parking lot. So it spoke volumes to us, and I was like, okay, we need to let's get out there. And it was funny because the weather had just turned. It was one of those March days that was like a 70-degree day. So it was nice. That's when we walked around and counted all the spots, and we said, okay, let's do this now. And that's when we started receiving some very kind emails from the student government representatives. The other piece around administration outreach had to do with back in the winter when the students had to. We split up the cafeterias. Or we used 4 kicks as like a pseudo cafeteria to offer more spacing for the students because the Omicron variant, I think it was at that time, popped up and was really, really at a high rate when we got back from the winter break. And many seniors kept asking to eat in their cars. And, due to the lack of supervision and the freezing temperatures and students sitting in their cars and potentially piling into cars, being very close to each other, just the lack of supervision, lack of, logistical planning for that, safety concerns and things of that nature. We didn't want to really open that door. And that definitely frustrated some students. But I think that frustration, hopefully, I believe it's gone away. I haven't heard of any lingering effects of it. But that was definitely brought up because, again, this was conducted in early March when we had this survey go out. We were still masked up at this point. It was just it was kind of a different world just only a few months ago.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, Mike, on the students eating in cars, because they were allowed to do it in the spring the previous year when they came back to campus, I think some of the feeling was that it was something that got taken away when in reality it was really just put in temporarily because of the situation. So it's,
yeah, we had them when we were operating under that hybrid model when we came back in April of 2021, I think it was.
yes.
Yeah, April of 2021. We had the hybrid model going, and our goal was literally just to get students away from each other during lunch. That sounds bad, but we said go in your car. School lunches were actually 35 minutes because we had a block schedule that we implemented that year. So we told students, leave, go to the Apex Center, go do your thing. Let's just all space out and stay away from each other. It was just survival mode at that point. So yeah, we attempted to explain that, but not every student agreed with the decision, and that's fine. It's all good feedback.
Okay, and then so feedback on the academics. So the majority of most of the seniors rated themselves in sort of in the middle in terms of retaining subject matter, and half of them felt like the non-STEM classes are just as highly valued as the STEM classes, which I think, obviously is very important here at Amsa, because I do think that there is a very strong balance between the two. One of the things, in terms of some of the comments, some of the top four vote getters for subject areas where seniors would like to see more class options were amongst PE and health, art, history, and science. So those were the 4 areas where, students would like to see more varied classes. So that's something interesting that obviously we'll, share. Mike can share it with the department chairs and certainly, something to think about going down the road. And then just some final thoughts. One of the final questions that were asked of the students was, if you had it to do all over again, would you attend Amsa? And so what was interesting is, 31% of the respondents said yes, they would. And then 42% responded maybe. So, I mean, I would say that gives you probably almost 75% who would, may or would definitely attend Amsa again. 27% responded no, that they might not. And then within this area, some of the major themes from the comment section were, in terms of things that they would change, were around uniforms, facilities, which actually, unfortunately, this particular class won't see the benefit of, but certainly the future classes we'll see how the facilities change. Workload, focus on mental health, school spirit, and maybe, less restrictions on rules. Now, one of the things that I found interesting, because the night that Mike presented this to the education committee in March, we actually had 2 former students, 2 alumni on the call. And it was great to hear their perspective, because they both had already graduated from college. So they've graduated Amsa, they graduated from college, and they've started their careers. And they were saying, now that they have sort of that 5-year plus perspective, their perspective was very different. Like they could understand why the seniors sort of, responded the way they did, but they definitely had a different perspective. So it might be interesting, like 5 years down the road, to run the survey again and see what we get back. But I just thought that was very interesting, that especially just given that we had the alumni on, and also it was obviously great to hear that, we had students who were out in the workforce and doing great things. So that's always a big positive as well. So any questions on the survey?
Liz, if I can just add something, because I didn't really go into too much detail on, because mental health was brought up here, and there was a question embedded in the survey at one point that basically asked the students, like, where would you like to see more classes offered, in what subject, which subject area would you like to see more classes offered? And the number 1 vote getter was the phys ed health / wellness department, and I believe a close second place was think it was science. But Jenna Logan, our department head, she knows that they are looking in depth in the wellness department at, they're actually working with an outside consult, or they connected with a consultant who has some great curriculum around mental health. So they're looking to add even more lessons there across the wellness department for all grades. Like I said, as a school, we work with Challenge Success. We're consistently talking about, we've luckily, Kate Drivers, we've been on the receiving end of some great grants. We have an on-site clinician this year that's been working with us. We're going to continue that relationship. Part-time clinician who comes in from, I believe it's Riverside Services. We're really constantly thinking about that. We started a partnership, a partnership with Trails, TRAILS. It's escaping me what that stands for right now, but it's based out of the University of Michigan. It's embedded in our advisory program, lower school advisory program. So we're working with them on lessons around mental health. We also have Trails groups for students in the high school who may be identified as having high levels of stress or potential, depression and things like that. We're identifying those students through screeners, through conversations. The counseling department is doing a wonderful job. Administration, we're constantly thinking about it during these times as well. So I did not want to leave that. I wanted to add a little bit more because that was mentioned a few times on these slides.
No, that's true. And Ellen, I saw your comment about doing it in May, and we had a lot of conversation around the timing. I think that for next time, it may be somewhere around either right before or right after April vacation. The problem we were running into with May is because of the AP testing. So that was one of the reasons why, early May is kind of hard. And then once you get to the middle of May, they're like gone.
Yeah, I heard, I think, an exit survey is an exit survey when they leave, but I heard March and I thought, oh my gosh, it's a school council. There's no worse month because the applications are all out, but most of them haven't heard back yet. They don't have decision day till May 1st. And everyone is worried and upset including the parents, until they know their kids have a place to go and they know how to pay the bill. And so, I think the timing is important. And I really do think and would love to redo this survey, now. And I think that we would see, we had happy kids and families at senior night this week.
Yeah.
We see different stuff.
I would just like to add, every time I go to the Back to the Future panel, every one of those kids who've now been in college come back and say, college is easy. Amsa has prepared me. I'm not stressed out. I look at my peers and they're all stressed out. Amsa has prepared me. So I think if you surveyed the kids in college, Amsa grads, you might get a different response.
Yeah, no, I and that was why it was great to have the students who had been through college and had already had like a year in the workforce to get their perspective, because I thought that was definitely very, very helpful.
Yep.
And I do agree, Bella, that's something that I have heard, not just at the Back to the Future, but also just anecdotally from parents who might still have kids at Amsa, but they have older kids who are already at college. The kids are exceptionally prepared. And, one of the things that, that's the one thing I don't worry about going into next year is, whether I don't think time management, I don't think, figuring out how to get the studying done is going to be a problem.
Yeah, I just want to say, I agree. If we do end up doing this again, if the senior class next year want to participate in this, there's a lot of student voice behind this. I didn't come up with any of the questions really. I just made some suggestions when they were submitted by the students. We should probably do it in May if we do end up doing this again. But I don't want to downplay. I mean, these students there was great feedback in here, and I learned that some of the little things that I think like maybe it spoke more to me of how appreciative the students are when we have a spirit week, and like just that, like we had an Adam Sandler theme day at this most recent spring spirit week, and like the kids loved it. They loved all those days, but that was one in particular. And like just it just brings people more together. And I don't think that the adults always realize, you know, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to us because we're more boring and we're older and whatnot, but like they really do enjoy the little things that we may think are little are big deals to them. So that's something that I did learn from this. So I do appreciate, though, you know, the timing maybe wasn't the greatest, et cetera, et cetera. I do think that there was some great feedback in here, and there really, surprisingly, there was a lot of focus on the facilities.
Yeah, that was interesting.
So that tells us that we're moving in the right direction by having some ownership. Having ownership of the property, so we can do a little bit more, because there are a lot of comments of when I walk into this school, it's just like it said, not a happy looking place. It's just blah. It looks like I'm in an office, which they kind of are because they are converted office buildings.
Yeah.
But like more decor, more eagles everywhere. I don't know. We need to get eagle claw prints all over the pavement or something. We got to do something to spruce things up. It seems like they would really enjoy little things like that.
Yeah, Mike, and it might be worthwhile to share your Google Doc with all of the, you know, with the in-depth feedback with the department chairs, because you know, they may find it interesting to see what the students, and certainly the rest of the administration, but certainly, you know, see what the feedback was from this year's students.
Yeah, definitely. I've shared it with many people, not in a formal sense yet,
Yeah.
but that's actually a good point, Liz. We could go through a quick at one of our meetings coming up.
Okay, any questions, comments? All right, I'm all set then. I will stop sharing.
Thank you, Liz and Mike. I definitely think this is practice that we should keep going in the future. Got some great feedback and great things that we can fix and make better. All right. Other questions for Liz? All right, next up, governance. Jill, or Sheila and Jill.
I just checked. I don't think Sheila's here, is she?
Yep. Oh, right. She had to step away.
Okay.
Sarah, she stepped away at the beginning of the executive director report.
Right. So governance just has a couple things. So Sheila's in charge of the nomination of board officers. I don't know if you and Sheila worked that out. I've not been a part of that. So I think governance just talked about the fact that, you know, that will happen next month. So I think you have that covered, correct?
I'll talk to that at the end of governance.
Okay. So that was one of the topics. And then the other main topic is that the board needs to do its self-assessment. So the way we've done it in the past is through Board on Track. But if anyone has any ideas to do it differently or use a different tool, we can talk about it in governance in June. But we'd like to do the board self-assessment prior to the next full board meeting. Whether we won't be able to report out on it, but we'd like to get it done. I think we've usually done it by now, and we report on it in June. But I also don't know if the Board on Track tool is the best tool to use, which we can talk about in governance in June. But if anyone has any ideas, I guess it would be a good time to think about it. I know, Razzle, you're on a board, and there's different ways to do it, whether it be a survey, whether it be, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm used from the other boards is very similar. It's just a survey, and then we get together and discuss it. I don't dislike the Board on Track one, but if we want to suggest alternatives, I can bring examples from the other boards.
Well, I think, yeah, I guess I wouldn't just throw it out there because I hadn't thought about it too much. but maybe for this year, it would make sense to stick with Board on Track. So we have something to compare to.
Yeah, I think in the interest of time,
Also
that we continue to use Board on Track. There are personal opinion, I think there are some questions in the Board on Track one that are a mismatch for us, but I think we can discuss through them. But I think in the interest of time that we should continue to use that survey for this year and be able to report out on it in the June board meeting. If possible, or at least that we get the survey done before the June board meeting, before everyone's goes on vacation. Then we can leave that to governance as to whether you be ready to report out in June or whether to hold it for a later meeting.
Sounds good. So that's all I had. Governance will definitely get the survey out. Maybe we'll meet early June, get the survey out for 2+ weeks, so we wouldn't be able to report on it at the June board meeting, but we would have a deadline. Everyone has to, get their answers in by a certain date, and then we could report out at some future date.
Yeah. Sounds like a great approach. Quick update on elections. If you as a board member are interested in chair, vice chair, secretary, or treasurer, please contact Sheila and express your interest. And we will be having our annual board meeting in June where we will elect board officers for the next 2 years. That's the officer update. Any questions for Jill or myself? All right. Thank you, Jill and Sheila. Let's see. What's finance? We covered
just to get the timing right. Does the new officers appoint the new chairs in the next school year, or does that happen in June?
So the committee chairs are voted on the odd years. So the chairs of the committees are voted for during the odd years. So all the committee chairs will be continuing to serve for another year.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and we also, I believe, in the June timeframe, we will have a number of trustees that are up for renewal, so we'll need to vote their continued trusteeship, continued terms for trustee in the June timeframe as well. So, Jill, if you can coordinate with Sheila on that.
Yes, definitely.
Great. Any other questions or for governance? Development Committee, Maura, sorry.
That's okay. So just quickly, I know we talked a little bit about capital campaign. To sort of round that out, we have gotten a few pledges and gifts so far from some of our corporate partners. Boston Scientific, Beckman Coulter, Synovian, and Avidia have all responded in the affirmative with pledges or gifts. And then we have 5 pending grant applications out there right now, and more that we actually just found out about that we can apply for. So like I said, things are moving forward on that side, and the development committee is really mobilizing to support the capital campaign at this stage of the game. So we're sort of kind of figuring out how we can help in that regard. The other thing I wanted to bring up was the golf tournament, which we're heading into year 3. You guys have all gotten information about signing up your foursomes. I would love to, at this moment, personally ask all of you to either golf with us or donate an auction item. We're really looking to get as much support as we can. And the golf tournament this year is also supporting part of the one of the labs as part of the capital campaign this year. I think one of the physics labs, to be specific. So very exciting. It should be a great day. We actually have, I mean, Krista and Krista Barton, Christy Allison have done a phenomenal job running this tournament over the past 2 years. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. The growth we saw between years 1 and 2 during a pandemic was just awesome for a new event. And so year 3 should be great. There's also plenty of sponsorship opportunities. One level this year that's kind of being taken advantage of, which is great by a lot of local small businesses, are like tea sponsorships, because they're really small dollars, but they have great exposure because everybody has to tee off on every hole. So lots of options for not only board members, but our community at large to participate in that. And it's a really fun day. So other than that, I think that's it for development.
Questions for Maura? All right, thank you, Maura, and great news on the golf tournament and the donations we've gotten so far. Going back, I did skip finance committee report. If the April budget was attached to the agenda, but Liana, if you wanted to do 2 minutes, Liana or Kristen wanted to say a really brief summary on how we did in April.
So we had a favorable April month, as usual. The numbers are quite close, and always, as I mentioned earlier, the revenue is favorable to budget. We had received the last update a couple months ago, and it was good. And the expenses equally on or better than plan in most areas. So everyone can take a look at that and drill in if they would like to take a peek. The budget, the committee also met twice. We were focused on the budget primarily, but also spent some time digging into the budget associated with the school building project. So there's a lot more work to be done there, but we did have quite a few robust discussions around that topic. So more to follow from the finance committee on that area.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Any questions for finance committee? All right. So we are complete with our committee reports. We had no items flagged for discussion. Meeting wrap up. Starting with Sarah for a summary of action items from the meeting.
I have that Roger, you are going to create a doodle poll for the strategic planning dates. Ellen is going to contact Betsy about her availability. Governance is going to get the self-assessment in June, hopefully. And also governance will be talking about trustee term renewals.
Very good. Anything that we missed for action items? All right. And now we'll be collecting agenda items for June. I've already pulled in the agenda. I pulled in the items. We've talked about the governance part. The goal now is to just conduct the bot self-assessment before the June board meeting. The report out will be later. We are going to do our board officer elections. That follow one is a typo. I can maybe see where we'll add. I had in the agenda it says chair committee appointments. That's on the odd years, not the even years. And we will be discussing the spring survey results. Are there other candidate agenda items, special purpose agenda items for June? So hearing none, on to meeting effectiveness. How did we do? What can we do better? What should we keep doing?
Hey, Roger, I wonder if this fits into this topic, but Maybe premature to talk about it because I know there might be new guidance or rules coming up from the state on open meeting law, but our plans or feelings overall on the board about continuing to the virtual meetings and whether we want to change it in any way, alternating in person and virtual, and I don't know how everybody feels. It's definitely convenient to do things virtually, but it does have a flip side of it feels like we're less likely to have open participation and discussion. But I don't know. Just a general feeling, and again, it might be premature because we need to wait for guidance whether or not we're going to be allowed to continue to do it this way after, what is it, July
15th is our next guidance update from the state.
Yeah. So just throwing it out there. I don't know if anybody has strong opinions.
So I think the idea, just sort of to elaborate on it, we had in our private conversation was that, even though the state is allowing us to meet remotely, every other meeting or once a quarter, once a half year, at some interval that we could, as a board, choose to meet most in person or as many people in person as possible, just to have a more in-depth discussion or different dynamics of the meeting. Thoughts?
Maybe it's a topic for earlier than 8:25 at night.
All right. Well, put in your thinking hats. I think we should revisit it in June.
I'm sure nobody misses a pizza.
Roger?
Yes.
Roger, would you please very quickly just go over your candidate agenda items for next month?
Oh, certainly. It's so the governance will be, during the next month, we'll be conducting the board self-assessment, but we will not be doing a report out on that. We will be having the board annual meeting, including the election of officers, and we will be discussing the spring survey results.
Okay. I had that. Okay, thank you. Just making sure.
Thanks for keeping us on track. Other thoughts on meeting effectiveness? Oh, sorry. Liz, can you share your presentation with Sarah so it can be a part of our part of the minutes?
Yep, I'll send it over to her tonight.
Fantastic. And I don't believe there was anything else that was shared that was not already part of the agenda. With that, is there any other business that I missed? All right. Zach, you want to give us a brief summary on how we're doing on timekeeping?
We're ending this meeting 39 minutes ahead of schedule.
Very good. With that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So move, Raul.
Second, Maura.
Raul, Mora. Sarah, please call the roll.
Okay, here we go. Bella Gorman.
Yes.
Don Capello.
Yes.
Jill Schaefer.
Yes.
Kristen Carney.
Yes.
Liz Saul.
Yes.
Maura Webster.
Yes.
Nick Poirier.
Yes.
Raul Porras.
Yes.
Roger Jarrett.
Yes.
I don't believe Sheila came back. Salmini Sampath.
Yes.
And Zachary Prescott.
Yes.
And that is all.
All right. Motion passes unanimously. Have a great evening, everybody. Thanks again.